Hello and welcome to another episode of the Mailbox Rogue Gallery. I'm Sean.
I'm Birch.
And what are we talking about today? Who are we talking about today?
Well, what might be appropriate, because of course in the Terminator films, our chosen subject isn't so much a he, but a what. He's a robot from the future.
I feel like you're giving it away a little bit there, as to who we're talking about, as to what we're talking about.
See if you can guess who I'm talking about. He, governor for California.
The Governator.
Governator. Movie star. Austrian. Bodybuilder. Investor.
Investor?
Apparently. Well, we'll find out later in the podcast, I'm sure.
I'm looking forward to that little nugget of information.
Author.
Tantalising.
Philanthropist.
Author?
Yeah.
No, that actually is quite tantalising.
None other than Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Well, you had me fooled. I thought it was going to be Peter Sallis, voice of Wallace from Wallace and Gromit, and star of Last of the Summer Wine.
Yeah, well, he was quite a big bodybuilder, and also famously the governor of California for a short spate.
Most of his policies were cheese-based.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Real clamp down on old men going down hills in bathtubs on wheels as well.
It used to happen to him all the time. No wonder he put up all those roadblocks.
I mean, I shouldn't apologise because tangents are almost a part of this show, but that show Last of the Summer Wine, that seemed to all that ever happened. They'd get into some sort of scrape. One of them would end up going down a hill on a bike or a bathtub.
Yeah, that's why he insisted on all those cushions and mattresses being placed at the bottom of hills in California.
Yeah, I wonder if they did their own stunts on that show.
Right, I would say we can't go on about Last of the Summer Wine. We need to actually talk about who we're going to talk about, which is, Arnold Schwarzenegger, like you said.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. So, I guess we could start. Are you a fan of the Schwarzenegger?
I don't... Is anybody really a fan? He's just sort of like a placeholder for the films that happen around him, isn't he? He's not a hugely charismatic person.
I don't know. I couldn't imagine anyone else really playing the Terminator.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, and Predator. There was also, when he was governor of California, there was that advert that came out trying to get people, like a tourist board advert, and at the end he went, "When can you start?"
Oh, yeah.
That was good. I like that.
So when can you start?
Nobody else would have done that. Not the same way.
Going back to Terminator, I say that I couldn't imagine anyone else filling that role. James Cameron, initially when he was kind of looking for someone to play that role, initially they were considering going for O.J. Simpson.
Really?
Yeah, that is true.
Wow.
And James Cameron ended up making like a funny quote. It's just like, I just couldn't believably see him as being a killer.
Oh, wow. Well, he was cleared by the jury, Birch. Don't forget that. Don't slander an innocent man. Has since been convicted of committing other crimes.
Yeah, which we shan't mention.
No, he's a bloody rogue. We'll do him at some point.
Yeah, I was just thinking that then, yeah. Okay, watch this space.
Yeah. But we're doing Arnold. Arnie.
Yes.
Arnie the dinosaur. I love you. You love me.
Arnie teach you 1, 2, 3. That'd be great.
I could just picture that like when he was a bodybuilder. I'm not alleging that he was on steroids, but if he was, maybe that could have turned him a little bit purple. So you've got this like giant purple bodybuilder going around teaching children how to count and play.
And steroids also famously gives you a big tail as well.
Yeah, that's true. Extended coccyx. Yeah, that's a side effect. I feel like, it's like, I feel like we've just felt the flap of the wings of the butterfly. The butterfly effect. The eventuality that could have happened if Arnie had started taking steroids.
Yeah, I think it'd have made a good kind of children's dinosaur.
A little glimpse there into an alternate history.
What could have been.
Yeah.
So Arnie was born. He was born.
That's something in itself. Imagine pushing someone that size out.
Yeah, you don't see that quite often these days. People being born, kind of like an old-fashioned thing.
You think?
Yeah.
I don't. I know I'm not the first one to say it, and I know it's not something you like to hear, but I feel like you might have lost touch a little bit with the rest of society.
Really? What?
Yeah, I mean, people get born all the time, mate. Day and night.
Are you sure? I've usually got my finger on the pulse with these sort of things.
Just do some looking into it. There's this great TV show called One Born Every Minute on Channel 4. You get to watch a lot of birthing.
All right. How long a program is it?
It lasts approximately a minute, the program.
I was going to say, yeah, so it's like one birth you'll see. Okay.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll keep an eye out for it.
It's good for binge watching. You can get through a whole box set in an hour. That's 60 episodes. That's like 4 seasons in an hour. Give it a go.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
But Arnie, of course, grew up in Austria.
Yep, Australia.
That's right. Down under.
Yeah,
That's why
he's got that famous accent.
Yeah, he's never lost his roots, has he? With that accent?
No, he's carried that with him his whole life.
And like that kind of kangaroo tattoo he has on his arse as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, which he just kind of like gets out at every occasion he can.
He loves it.
Premieres, dinner get-togethers.
Yeah. Dingo's ate my baby. He's always cracking out one of his Aussie sayings.
But of course he then went to, well, I don't think he went to America first, but he kind of like found an interest in bodybuilding. And I mean like actually building bodies, like in a kind of Frankenstein sort of way.
Oh, yeah.
He kind of was interested in it from quite an early age. And he kind of like make his own friends and like bring them to life.
Wow.
As a child.
That's quite innovative for a child.
Mm.
The ethical dilemmas that it throws up are numerous. Maybe that's something we should come back to. But I will say I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
And that was his way into kind of like building his own body up, as it were. Because I guess a lot of people assume that when people say bodybuilding, that they mean they're kind of like pumping iron and kind of like lifting weights and really kind of like enhancing
strength training, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. But what it really means is that he was kind of adding bits of body to himself.
Just lopping off a bit of somebody else and just stitching it on, making himself bigger bit by bit.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, it's got a long process. It's still very hard work. Probably even harder work than like the weightlifting regime, the traditional route. I'd probably say it's more challenging, mentally and physically.
Yeah, but he's always been one for a challenge.
Yeah, so. I don't want to sound disparaging when we say that he didn't actually lift weights and that.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, what he does is a much harder thing. So he became Mr. Universe.
Which is a pretty good title, I will say.
That is a pretty awesome title. Like, of all the kind of like titles you could go for, that's like very definitive, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's the be-all and end-all, really, isn't it? I mean, as far as we've never even come across other universes yet, have we? In our limited understanding of the vastness of space.
That's a point, actually. Do you think maybe aliens elsewhere in the galaxy maybe got wind of that and just kind of thought, the fuck, we got people twice his size on our planet?
Yeah. And they've got 8 arms.
Yeah.
And they're not even arms, they're tentacles.
Even better.
Yeah. I've always said that about arms and tentacles. I know which way my bread's buttered. I'll take a tentacle over an arm any day.
There's a quote.
Wait, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, Mr. Universe. Yeah. Does that make him God? I mean, because he's the original Mr. Universe, isn't he? The big God.
I guess he is God.
Or a god. Maybe. I'll tell you what, I'm going to seek some spiritual enlightenment from a rabbi. Let's go way back to the Old Testament in the original Hebrew and just see if we can clarify some of these points. I'll get back to you on this one. Whether Arnold Schwarzenegger when he was Mr. Universe was God.
Yeah, I think I know what the answer's going to be, though.
Yeah, I've got a sneaking suspicion I do too, actually. Yeah. I'll get back to you on that one. So yeah, I mean, it's as far as like career trajectories go, you'd think you'd be at your peak at Mr. Universe, wouldn't you? But actually, he only went upwards. He just kept going up, didn't he?
Yeah, he's definitely an achiever. Like,
yeah, to say the least, he's an achiever.
Yeah, I don't quite know what the leap there. I'm trying to think if there were any athletes. I guess, like maybe with the exception of Bruce Lee. Around that time, I can't think of anyone who was kind of like maybe in the world of sport that then made a leap to cinema.
Vinnie Jones. Vinnie Jones used to be a footballer.
Yeah.
So there's one. There's a comparison.
Yeah, but he made, what was it, Mean Machine? He did that film like in the early 2000s.
Yeah, and Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels.
Oh yeah, yeah, but that was
And
still
he's in that episode of Extras.
Oh, yeah, but Lock, Stock was the
a
90s.
high-flying career.
I'm trying to trace it back to the very first instance of it.
Right, yeah, I don't know. I'm not saying I'm a huge fan.
So we'll say he's a trailblazer, Arnie. Have you seen his first film?
No, what is it? Oh, is it Conan the Barbarian?
No, that wasn't his first film.
Oh, what is his first film?
I think that was maybe like his second or third, something like that. His first film is absolutely hilarious. It's called Hercules in New York.
I've heard of this, yeah.
I wish I still had the DVD of it. I ended up giving it away.
What?
Yeah.
What a treasure.
No, I know. I should get another copy of it, to be honest. But I remember like laughing about it a lot, like with friends at school.
Yeah.
It's just like basically he plays the titular Hercules. He wants to go down to Earth, I think, and like hang out with people. And his dad Zeus is just like, no, you don't want to do that. Stay up here with us. But he ends up disobeying his father's orders, I think, and he ends up going to New York. And
I bet he meets a whole colourful cast of characters.
Oh, he really does. He fights a bear in the park.
What? In Central Park?
Yeah,
Fights a bear.
And it is... I mean, I guess there weren't any bear actors back then because it was very clearly a man in a bear suit.
Before animatronics.
It was great because, like, it was his first film. And, like, you can tell that it was his first film and he hadn't been in the country a long time because his English was very, very broken.
Yeah, I mean, did his English ever get that good?
Well, you watch that film and then you see where he is now, and I think you'll see that he went leaps and bounds. But he was 22, and in the film, he didn't go by the name Arnold Schwarzenegger in the film.
Oh, what was he called?
He was credited as Arnold Strong.
Oh, that's a great name.
Yeah, it's kind of like to give you an idea, I guess, of what he is.
Yeah, it sums him up very well.
What is Arnold? Arnold Strong.
Yeah, Arnold is. Arnold Strong. I like it. But he's abandoned that surname. I might just have that. I might just be Sean Strong.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's not using it anymore.
I think it could be like, again, going back to nominative determinism. Like, if I give myself that name, I might grow into it. I might sort of end up falling into bodybuilding in either sense. An aspirational name for me, maybe. I would very much like to watch this film. And then that was it for his film career, wasn't it?
Yeah, he didn't make anything else after that. Yeah, that was very
No, you meant to say, oh no, Sean, but you were wrong, and then you can educate me further. You know, it's a setup.
Oh, right. Okay. No, you're wrong, Sean. He made a few other films as well.
Oh, do tell me more.
Jingle All the Way.
My favourite film of his is... I love the duology he did with Danny DeVito, Twins, and Junior. What a partnership.
I would agree. Yeah, Twins in particular is a corker of a film.
That is a work of genius. I mean, they're twins, but they look so different.
I know.
It's the whole premise.
Such a winning premise.
It still makes me laugh to this day.
Do you think they made that film with those two in mind, or they kind of like wrote the film and like really authored it and then thought, we need two people who are so different from one another?
Imagine if it was like an accident, like originally like that premise didn't exist. It was just a film about two twins, and then like they put out two drafts of the casting call. Like they kind of did one, and then it got sent out before it was ready, so they sent the second one out. So the first one said like hulking bodybuilder with not great English, and then the second casting call said diminutive funny man, Italian American, and then like they didn't realise that both had gone out, and then they get to the audition, and then who's there but Arnie's responded to one and Danny DeVito's responded to the other, and they're like, you know what, this could work, this could be a formula.
Now that you mention it, I think the fact that they're both very different from each other is just kind of like a funny little added bit. It doesn't serve the plot, does it, really?
Incidental.
No, I'd like to think that's what happened.
Yeah. And then the other one is Junior, that they did together.
Junior.
That's the one in which Arnold Schwarzenegger gets pregnant.
Naturally. Yeah,
so they're testing a scientific formula, the fertility formula. Arnie, in a lab coat, he's a scientist. He bravely decides to experiment on himself. The fertility formula is called Expectrone. I don't know if you knew that.
No.
Yes, my favourite detail from that film.
Yeah, it's the minutiae that really makes a film, isn't it?
Well, you say that, but they skip over one glaring detail. So he gets pregnant. There's a film based around it. Danny DeVito's running around after him. Somehow he falls in love. Not DeVito, Schwarzenegger. Maybe there's with a lab assistant. I can't remember. And then near the end of the film, he gives birth, right? And they've got him on a gurney and they're rushing him into the hospital. And then, like, he's, like, screaming and holding the hand of this woman who's his new love interest and Danny DeVito. And then it just cuts to him holding a baby. And I'm left with so many questions. I'm left with so many questions.
The single most interesting point of the film, the thing everyone's paid their ticket to see.
Absolutely. I mean, I think after that, everybody in the audience at Cannes just walked out. They just
Cannes.
Cannes, not Cannes. Cannes.
No, I was just laughing at the idea of it being there. But playing there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's the right kind of crowd. Yeah, I mean, well, it's very much speculative fiction, Junior, so we can certainly speculate on that. Now,
Are we going to get into the finer points of this?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, I'm so glad.
I mean, I guess, like, having a cesarean would make sense, but do you think that's what happened, like, with his pregnancy? Now, the two options that I have in my crude mind are...
Well, I've got 3 options, so...
Okay, well, I guess I've got 3. So kind of like making an incision in the stomach and pulling the baby out that way. 2, he shat the baby out of his arse.
Yeah.
3...
Well, the third one, which is the one I'm most anticipating.
Third one being that a baby was shot out of his knob. And he ended up coming out of it like kind of a cat going through like a jumper sleeve, stretching the arm.
That's such a good metaphor. That perfectly describes the image in my head.
And leaving his knob afterwards like a kind of a flaccid, long tube.
Wow, like an elephant's nose.
Yeah, well, yeah, just like if there weren't any bones or cartilage in the trunk.
So this is exactly what I was, that's really stuck in my craw to this day. I watched that film about 8 years ago. I still can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah. So, I mean, what was he like? What was the character like afterwards? Was he, like, walking all right?
I think they just showed him... no, I don't think he ever walked again.
Oh, the knob one then, probably.
Yeah. Do you use your knob to walk on? Like, is that an integral part? Does it give you a bit of balance when you walk, maybe?
No, but it's kind of like the muscles are all around that sort of area.
Yeah,
I'm sure
that's
making
true.
a step forward would fucking hurt.
Yeah, that's true.
And then after the kind of like birth, he just kind of like rolls his knob up like a fruit wind-up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that gave me like a weird sensation in my brain. The joy of remembering a fruit wind-up, but then also the horror of picturing it as being Arnold Schwarzenegger's trunk-like penis. Yeah, that gave me a strange sensation. I mean, for me, that capped it with his film career. Junior and Twins. They were going to do a sequel. They had a sequel all lined up called Triplets, and Eddie Murphy was going to be the third brother.
Have we mentioned that in a previous episode?
Yeah, I feel like maybe we have.
Treading old ground.
It's not like us to repeat ourselves, is it?
No.
I mean, I invested a lot of money in it, and I'm still waiting I'm still trying to claw it back because they haven't produced this bloody film, and I'm out of pocket.
Well, maybe we could make a kind of pitch a third film for Arnie and DeVito to do together.
Okay. Oh, I like the sound of that, definitely. So it's got to be a stranger... I want to go one further to complete this trilogy. We want something stranger than the fact that they're twins or that Arnie got pregnant.
Well, I think we need something thematically on point. So what Twins and Junior share is it is about birth.
Yeah, and about family.
That's right.
Yeah.
So...
Oh! Well, I don't know if this works or not, but
No, go on.
Arnie gives birth to Danny DeVito?
Right,
That's
okay.
a mix of the two there, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, okay.
Ooh.
So what is that, like the start of the film? Instantly, just like on the screen, bursts with Arnie just there, like with like this little bold 65-year-old man, just like, are we sticking with the knob? He's
Yeah. Yeah, we're sticking with the knob.
right. Okay, so he's clawing his way out of Arnie's penis. I think if we really want to capture the kind of like trauma of childbirth,
And we do.
this part of the film could maybe be about 40 minutes.
You're going a bit Saving Private Ryan with this one. 40-minute opening scene.
Yeah, I think that's generous. A lot of childbirth can last hours and hours.
Sometimes days.
Exactly, yeah. So I think us giving the audience 40 minutes of this childbirth, well, not really childbirth, what would it be? Pensioner birth, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I suppose. But we have to rewind, because I was thinking Danny DeVito was going to play a baby. It was going to be Danny DeVito in like a nappy and like a little bonnet, and he's waving a rattle and he's saying like goo goo gaga.
Oh, right, so the character is actually going to be an infant.
What would you reckon? I'm pitching it to you as much as to anybody else.
Well, yeah,
That was my initial thought.
I think he could play a baby. So if we have it, just the shock. Imagine people going in to see this film, just an instant, just kind of like appears on the screen. People will be so confused. Right, okay, so Arnie gives birth to Danny DeVito as a baby, and yeah, he starts kind of like crying. One of the nurses picks it up and like burps him and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Puts a nappy on him, and that's like when maybe we've got the title sequence. Arnie's like driving him and the baby home. Maybe there's a few scenes of them at home. Danny DeVito shits his nappy, and like Arnie feeding Danny DeVito, and it's just like this could all be like the build up. There's like some lovely music in the background.
I'm just picturing him bouncing Danny DeVito on his knee. I think that's going to be so beautiful, just up
be
and down.
That would be adorable.
Yeah.
I think. But where do we want to go from there? So really, Junior and Twins are kind of like high concept, kind of like science fiction almost, about what can happen with human biology.
Yeah, they are really. Yeah.
So what do we want to happen?
It depends. I was just going to get a bit lazy after that. I was going to say the baby gets kidnapped and then Arnie has to track him down, dole out some justice. That is pretty lazy though, so if you can come up with anything better than that.
Well, we can use that because that's like a winning formula. That always works. Maybe we could steal the premise of a couple of films, maybe.
Yeah, it's done all the time these days.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you remember the film Jack with Robin Williams, where...
Isn't that directed by Francis Ford Coppola?
It is.
Director of The Godfather.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on. What's this one about again? I don't really remember.
Basically, Robin Williams plays a 10-year-old boy. His kind of like aging is like 4 times faster than most people's.
Oh, so he's like an opposite Benjamin Button.
Yeah, pretty much, sort of, yeah. So he's kind of like, has accelerated aging. So at 10 years old, he's like 40-odd-year-old Robin Williams with the hairy arms.
He was a very hairy man, wasn't he?
He was a very hairy
Very
man.
his suit.
So maybe we could have something like that. Everything looks like it's going really well. It's like bouncing little Danny on his knee and like playing airplanes with the spoon of food.
Yeah. Oh,
And
sweet.
But then, like, something happens towards the end of this, like, opening montage where he looks and maybe sees that Danny's got a few whiskers on his chin. Just like, that's odd for, like, a baby. It's like only a week old.
That is odd for a week-old
like,
baby, yeah.
Takes the baby to the doctor, and the doctor's like, I'm sorry, he's got...
Oh, sorry, who's playing the doctor?
I think the doctor should be played by... I don't know, who do you think?
I think Kenneth Branagh's got the gravitas that we might need for this.
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, yeah, we need someone like in quite a authoritative tone and
yeah.
kind of a lot of power to them.
We'll use Branagh as a placeholder.
Yes.
For now.
So Branagh basically says, "I'm sorry, but little baby Danny, he's got Jack syndrome, like the Francis Ford Coppola film." They actually say that in the film.
Yeah, so
we need to wear our influences on our sleeve here.
Yeah, as part of the same universe. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. That's done.
Yeah, Twins, Junior, and Jack are all part of this kind of like human biology shared universe. And so he's like, yeah, Danny's got Jack syndrome, where he kind of like ages pretty rapidly. And then maybe, to tie in with your idea, people see the idea of accelerated aging as kind of maybe something that they want to implement to kind of like take over the world.
If they can work out why he's aging so fast, maybe they can reverse it and get people to age slower. Is the key to eternal life.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I can see a lot of nefarious people wanting to get hold of that information.
So they steal baby Danny, and then Arnie, because of his like typical action movie tropes, he has to go on this kind of fight to kind of get Danny back.
He wraps his trunk-like cock around his leg. Puts on some...
Oh, and you can use it like a kind of Indiana Jones whip to go from... It's like set in New York, and he goes from building to building.
Yeah. He could also swing off rafters with it, maybe. Use it like a lasso. Yeah. Maybe that's how, when he finally gets Danny back, he kind of lassos him out of the hand of the bad guy just as the bad guy falls off a building.
And rather than using a blanket to wrap him in, he just wraps him in his cock. Oh,
that's such a sweet image.
So, yeah, Hollywood, if you're listening, give us a call.
We've said that a number of times on this show. I don't think we get enough credit for the ideas we throw out.
No. Yeah, the amount of great books, films, stories, and inventions that we kind of like provide the listeners on this podcast, it's amazing stuff.
Listening to an episode of this is like flicking through one of Da Vinci's sketchbooks.
Yeah, at the time, they're just like, what's all this madness? And then, like, it's only a few years down the line that we'll be kind of considered visionaries.
Yeah, I think so.
So, as well as having a very important film career, we shouldn't forget his contribution to politics as well in America.
Yeah, we mentioned it briefly, but I think we should definitely go back to that in a bit more detail.
Well, he was, of course, the governor of California.
Yeah.
He announced his candidacy in 2003, ended up winning by quite a good margin, I think. I think he was quite popular with the Californians.
It's funny, really, because it's always a very left-leaning state.
I think a lot of people just liked the idea that the Terminator was going to be their governor.
It is kind of cool, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would like a film star prime minister. I suppose they already did that in Love Actually with Hugh Grant, didn't they? And I didn't like that. So yeah, forget about that. What other famous people do you think would make good politicians in America? I'm going to, in this scenario, elect Snoop Dogg as governor of Idaho.
Idaho? Okay, right. Any particular reason why Idaho? Or
No, I'm shaking my head. I'm saying no.
Okay, no, yeah, well...
I just think he'd do a good job. I think he just deserves a chance.
Yeah, I think he'd be the person to really sort Idaho out and the kind of plethora of problems that they have down there. I mean, I'm sure his first order of business would be legalizing weed, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, maybe we could put him in Colorado where that's already been sorted out, and then maybe we could, if he's a sort of single issue figure, we get that out of the way, put him in Colorado, and then we can focus on his real ideals. I don't know what they are, but I'm curious to find out.
Well, he seems like a nice chap.
Lovely guy.
Yeah. I'm sure he'd be all for like world peace, and
yeah,
maybe he would be the person to bring peace to the Middle East.
Oh, imagine.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Imagine, like, in 50 years' time, looking back, like, historians looking back and thinking, like, you know, nobody could have guessed that. Nobody could have guessed that. It came so out of left field. Yeah.
Those kind of, like, lists you have of, like, the greatest people of whatever century. And, like, people will see, like, the 21st century, like, the greatest icons there, all the inventors, all the kind of, like, great artists. And then they'll see Snoop, who brought peace to the Middle East.
I like it. I really like that. I hope that pans out. I really do.
I think what we should probably do, because he's got a Twitter, I think we should kind of really push for him to do that. Maybe get some backing behind it. It was like, oh, we think you're the kind of person to do this.
Maybe if we tweet him every day.
Yeah, just to give him that kind of gentle nudge of encouragement.
I'm thinking it's going to be a little bit like how in Shawshank Redemption, Andy Dufresne writes a letter to get books for the library for the prison, and he writes a letter every single day, and eventually after like 10 years they just cave. If we just keep tweeting at him every day for 10 years, and there's two of us as well,
oh yeah,
so we could take every other day off, you know. And then let the other person do it. In 10 years, we might have this Middle East thing sorted.
I like to think that he'd have the same reaction to the library. All right, I'll bring peace to the Middle East. Fine.
Hell, go on then.
If I must.
Yeah.
But what were Arnie's policies as governor of California?
I don't know.
Let's see if we can find out.
That's probably not going to be anything particularly interesting, is it?
Maybe not, but we can check.
Something about investments, taxation.
Right, well, he famously banned carrots through the entire state.
Is that right?
That is absolutely right.
Any particular reason for that?
He doesn't like them. It's like, just when somebody asked him, he's like, why have you banned carrots? He's just like, yuck. Yuck. That was his answer. He didn't say anything else. He
Nothing more.
Just started going, yuck.
This interview is over.
Oh yeah, I remember that. He got out a Bowie knife and then just kind of cut the cord on the microphone.
Yeah, just walked off.
The mention of carrots.
Yeah, I guess some little boys just never grow up to like vegetables.
Like, you look at, he doesn't even like people wearing orange clothing. So, I mean, to actually have a carrot in his presence.
That's why he hates the Dutch.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, and there's no protein in a carrot. That might be why, bodybuilder, what are they getting out of a carrot?
Yeah, just
all.
Empty calories, a carrot.
Empty calories, exactly. And they'll put in muscle mass with a bloody carrot. Partial to a parsnip, though.
Oh yeah, well that became the state vegetable, didn't it? Just overnight.
And the state motto, partial to a parsnip. Yeah.
The parsnip state.
That's what they called it, yeah.
Yeah, for these Schwarzenegger years.
Yeah, the parsnip state. They changed it back. It's the sunshine state again now. No, wait, is that Florida?
Florida's the sunshine state.
What's California? Is it still the parsnip state?
Yeah, maybe they didn't change it.
Maybe they didn't.
They grew to like it. Initially they were just like, oh, really? And then by the end of his term, when somebody else came in, it's just like, oh, we can change it back. Everyone, I kind of grown to like it.
Yeah, he's like, have you actually tried these? Roast this shit. And then everyone's like, yeah, roasted parsnips, the tits.
Delicious.
Yeah, just based a bit of olive oil. Delicious. Salt and pepper. Oh, does all the work.
So he introduced California to the parsnip.
Much like Christopher Columbus introducing the potato to Europe.
Did he? What?
Or was it? No, it was Walter Raleigh.
He introduced Walter Raleigh to Europe.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Europe, this is Walter. Walter, Europe.
Nice to meet you. Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
That's exactly what happened.
Did he dole out any of his kind of traits in some of his films, maybe, when he was governor? Like, because that was his filmography is very popular, so maybe he thought, oh, maybe I could implement some of this into my own kind of like leading style. Like
when he was voted out, he probably went, "I'll be back."
Yeah,
but I mean, it would have been a fucking fool not to, and that man's no fool.
Absolutely not. I think one thing that really cemented his campaign was when he literally cemented the Predator mask onto his opponent's head.
Yeah, that was...
Because it was a bit dicey. It looked as though he might not get it. He had the popularity from his films and his catchphrases, but the other guy had kind of like his foot in the door already in politics, and he was more of a known figure in that world. So he thought, right, well, how can I kind of like ensure that I really win this election? So what he did was he cemented the Predator helmet or mask onto the guy's head.
Dreadlocks and all.
Yeah, dreadlocks and all. Put the little thing on his arm that boops
Yeah.
around. And yeah, on the day of like the last discussion, he was none the wiser. He couldn't feel this thing on his head. So Arnie comes out and
This guy didn't notice that he had the Predator helmet on his head.
No, well, he's a politician. He's busy. He's not got any time to look in
Yeah.
mirrors and stuff. He's got babies to shake and hands to kiss. So he's there. Arnie's like doing this speech. And then he walks in. He's like, sorry, I'm late. The whole place is just kind of like gasping. Oh my God, it's Predator. Everyone's like running, flying.
They're going crazy.
Yeah, papers flying all over the air. And then Arnie is really... They filmed the whole debate live. It was incredible. He just kind of like goes missing all of a sudden, Arnie. He's like, where the hell is he? He's stripped off, covered his body in mud.
Yeah, classic.
Holding the knife. And he's just like, if it bleeds, we can kill it. And
into the microphone.
yeah, and of course the guy with the fucking mask on his head is like, if what bleeds, we can kill it. What are you talking about? He just couldn't see a fucking thing. He was just kind of like going around.
Well,
like
he's only seeing an infrared, if I remember, or like heat sensitive vision.
No, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
so you can hardly see it. You can't make out who's who at all.
He can't see Arnie at all.
No, and so he's like wandering around on stage while all the commotion's going on.
What a
Arnie
hubbub.
steps up behind him, stabs him in the back, kills the guy, and that's how he became governor.
Yeah, and it was a very risky move, but I mean, nobody's going to vote for a villain. And Predator, at the end of the day, is a villain.
Oh yeah, well, he's like the villain, if anything.
Yeah.
Nasty
Him
piece.
and Dick Dastardly, I would say, ultimate villains.
Yeah, I think for any future elections, like, if anyone's thinking of running in politics for whatever capacity, what you could do is you could glue the little spiky moustache onto your opponent's head, put the kind of red and blue
Red cap
on his head,
purple trench coat,
buy him a dog,
a little
like,
sniggering dog.
yeah, just kind of. Look, I know we're on opposite sides of this kind of political spectrum, but here's a little token of my appreciation. It's a dog. He's already named Muttley.
That's devious. That is,
and he's not going to know anything. He's just, oh, thank you.
Lovely dog. Keeps laughing. Very chirpy.
Goes to a debate, and then just like, oh my god, this guy looks a bit suspicious. Just like looks at like his little dog next to him. Dog just goes.
That's it.
It's
Election
like,
over.
Yeah. We know who we want.
Oh yeah, no, the electorate know what they want, and they don't want a villain. So yeah, there we have it. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Arthur Strong, as he's known.
Count Arthur Strong.
Was that it, Arthur Strong? Yeah, that's right. I'm remembering back to the start of the episode. I'm pretty sure you told me that.
Yeah.
What did we say he was? Entrepreneur, actor.
Oh,
dancer.
Yeah. Actually, dancer. He can really cut a rug. But now that you mention it, we mentioned at the start of the episode promise of finding out what he's an investor of.
Oh yeah, what is it?
All right, let's just quickly find this out.
Actually, now I think about it, investment-wise, most of his money was sunk into parsnips and the parsnip industry in California.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Do you think there's anything a bit suspicious about how he made it the state vegetable when he had such a vested interest in it?
I mean, I seem to recall that some of the parsnips were kind of like harvested in the Cayman Islands.
That's a bit dodgy, isn't it?
Yeah.
And maybe his political rival was a carrot man.
Right, okay. Yeah, maybe there were kind of like some people who were kind of giving him a nudge. It's like, promote the parsnip.
I think we have stumbled onto another major political conspiracy.
Another one?
Another one. And I think we shouldn't delve into it too far, but I will say that justifies him being in the Mailbox Rogues Gallery. Thank you. Good night.
Doodles.
Oh, before we forget, you can catch us on Facebook, on Twitter, at Mailbox Rogues. You can email us at mailboxroguesgallery@gmail.com.
That's right.
That's as far as I remember. You do the rest.
That's okay. So yeah, Twitter, email, and you can also listen to the podcast on YouTube, Podbean, and of course iTunes. And also be sure to leave a comment, a review, and a star rating on any of those, as it all helps to make the podcast more popular.
Yeah, we've got to take on a political juggernaut now. We've just uncovered something huge.
We need all the backing we can get to stop these parsnip barons.
Parsnip Barons. Oh, another good name for a band. We're right, we've got to stop this now before we say too many good names for bands.
Okay.
Goodbye again.
Toodles.